Joining me today is one of the most laid-back guys you'll meet, but don't let it fool you. Tony brings a calm confidence, strong communication, and serious problem-solving skills to every deal. He's great at connecting with people and handling pressure if things get a little crazy, which in the real estate industry happens more often than you think. Before getting into the business, he spent years behind the bar, so he knows how to read people, keep things running smoothly. When he's not working with clients, you'll probably find him outdoors. He's fishing, he's hunting, he's on the golf course. Let's welcome one of our OG agents, my nephew, Tony White. All right, we're sitting down with Tony White. He is my nephew, most importantly, great agent, been with the team for 12 years, and one of the first guys to join us. So, Tony, thanks for making the time to jump on, and let's hop into it, dude.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. Awesome. So we start with everyone the same thing, origin story. Why don't you share a little bit how you got started in real estate, what you were doing beforehand, what drew you to it, and a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I had a family member who was pretty involved in it.
Very handsome family member.
Yeah, handsome family member. So that's kind of where it started. I was bartending for years, working in restaurants. Even when I first got licensed, I still bartended, full time for first couple years. And then eventually got to the point where I was down to 3 nights a week and then 2 nights a week. And then eventually just was done with it.
Yeah. And you talked about bartending a little bit, and we have a lot of people on the team that have a background in service industry, bartending, a couple different things. Laura,
Yeah.
Liz, Devin, yourself. Can you share a little bit about some of the things that kind of helped you from, like, I guess more so like customer service, looking out for the customer, dealing with tough co-ops, helped you kind of transitioning from that world into this world, and like what some of the carryovers were, especially from your skills?
Yeah, sure. I think like the biggest thing is, especially bartending, and I'm sure, Laura and Liz, Devin will tell you the same thing. You're in front of people. Like you're almost on a stage, right? You're surrounded by people. You have a million people that are focused on you, and it's tough. But also, it's great to develop like those people skills. You're talking to people from all over the world, and all different walks of life, and not everybody's the same. But you get the chance to be in front of different people and have different experiences with those people. And I think that's, that relates to real estate as well, right? It could be any walk of life that you're on the phone with, or, that comes through at any time. So I think that's the biggest thing, is like the people skills. I also like, and I know, again, the other people who worked in the restaurants will probably say the same thing. A lot of my business comes from either people that I worked with over the years, or people that I worked, or that were customers or regulars, clients, have become turned into clients over the years. So
your regulars at that job kind of follow you into this job, and I know we have a million people since you've been on the team that you've helped out, former co-workers and whatnot, helping with that transition, buying a house. Yeah. So thinking about all those people, can you think about, like, maybe it's someone from that pool, maybe it's a past client there or a past coworker there, like a big win, something you're proud of where you really helped someone, whether it was like sell a home for a number they needed, or a time they really needed something in their life, or buy or get a home that they were really hoping for, something like that. Anything you could share about a big win that you had?
For sure. I mean, one of the biggest transactions I ever had was a client from who was a bar regular for years.
Oh yeah.
And you remember, right? And
yeah,
ended up buying like $900,000 house in Skipback. It's a beautiful home. I worked with him and his family for probably 3 years on and off, looking for homes before we finally found the right one. And that was a guy that I would see, like, when I was bartending. I would see him. His wife, I hope his wife's not watching, but I would see him 4 or 5 days a week.
Or just once a week if she's watching.
If she is watching, yes.
Yeah.
Once every other week or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that just says a lot, about, I mean, it says a lot about like the trust that he put into me, right? Because I'm not pouring him beers,
Right.
right? He's purchasing it. It's the biggest investment of his life, right?
Yep.
It's nearly $1 million he's putting into a home, and his family's got to be there for years. And you know that is very makes me feel good that somebody would put their trust into to me with having that background.
Yeah. It's all that rapport building, relationship building. It's built over look, and we're of the same ilk. So I'll sit down and share a beer with almost anyone on the planet, whether we agree on something or not. You can have a good chat. So I think if you have that in you, like those skills are like a huge carryover. Yeah. That's good. How about like a tough deal? Anything recently in the past couple of years we've had something that's been really challenging. Not a challenging client. We don't ever have challenging clients on our team, but either a co-op or just something with a property or.
And they've all been easy going and
super easy to buy and sell real estate. It's not
really
stressful.
Nothing crazy. I can't really think of anything specific, but like I know you mentioned co-ops and like that is one thing. That's like one thing in real estate that we can't really control, right? You can't control who is going to be on the other side of the transaction, and sometimes you run into somebody that you can't get a hold of, or doesn't pick up the phone, or says text me to get a quicker response, and then you don't hear from them.
Yeah.
So like that's like one of the things we can't really control.
Yeah.
They're the tougher experiences. And that's typically it. Look, clients can be tough too, but I think
not our clients,
not ours. But I think that one of the bigger challenges is the agent work. There's so many agents. We say it all the time, right? There's so many agents that they can't all be great, right?
Yeah.
It's impossible. But I think that's the biggest challenge to overcome on most transactions.
Yeah. Do you wish, not that we want to turn it into a wine fest for us, but do you wish more buyers and sellers kind of knew that going in? It's kind of hard to start a relationship with somebody and say, hey, we may be dealing with a jerk on the other side, or we may be dealing with someone who's not, like, doesn't take this job seriously. Like,
I think that's yes, but I also think like there's ways that you can get out in front of it too, right? Like you can kind of set the standard before you ever even meet the client at the property, right? You can call the listing agent. If you're working with the buyers, you can call the listing agents and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm going to be showing a client your house, and just try to get some bad feedback. And you just establish that relationship with them and just kind of feel them out before you ever even meet the client at the house. And then you sets my expectations for them, and then also allows me to set expectations for my clients to say, hey, I had a conversation with this guy and he was great, or tried calling this guy 4 or 5 times before we got here, and I didn't get an answer. So you get an idea of who you're working with before we ever get there.
Yeah. It's a great tip, and it's a fine dance, because we always want to be truthful and upfront with our clients, but we also don't want to bash the other side, because it could be anything. It could have something going on in their life, whatever. But it is, that's a communication business, right? You got to be available. You got to pick up the phone. You got to read your email, things like that, text messages, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So you talked a little bit about buyers. I do this with all the agents on our team. Like, if you were to sit down and think about, hey, you're meeting a new buyer right now, and they say, hey, Tony, give me 3 things, or as Phil Leotardo would say, let me tell you a couple of 3 things. Give me 3 things. Give me 3 things that you would tell a buyer who's just getting started out in the process.
So the one thing I would focus on early on is establishing a relationship with a lender, right? Talk to more than one, first of all, right? Try to shop around and get the best rate, but it's not just about that either. Like, find somebody that is going to answer the phone on the weekends, or if you need like a closing cost worksheet worked up, or a fee sheet worked up in an hour or 2 because you have a deadline to meet, you need to make an offer. Find somebody that is going to be available to do that for you. That's super important. Establishing a relationship with the lender. And then also, like in that on that same note, like run different scenarios past them, right? Because if you're looking in different areas and there's different taxes, or this one has an HOA but this one doesn't, make sure you've walked through all those scenarios before you even start looking, so that you understand what the difference in cost is going to be and what the living expectations are going to be when you get moved in. That's a big one for buyers. And then the other thing is, like, I try to tell people not to focus on, like, when we're walking through a place, like, if the paint looks terrible, like, that's, we're painting the house anyway, right? Or, you know, carpet needs to be replaced, or the floors, like, all that stuff is, if the house is in the right place and it's where you want to be, and you can see yourself being there, like, none of that stuff matters. Like, it's a little bit of a cost up front, but, you know, don't let that make or break the situation,
Yeah.
because cosmetic stuff can always be changed.
Yeah. Golden rule, man. Location, location, location.
Yeah.
I like what you said about establish a relationship with a lender, not just get a pre-approval, right? The pre-approval kind of sets the stage, shows us, you have to put that information in the agreement of sales, shows the seller that you're pre-qualified with somebody, but the relationship with the lender, and we have the best people, right? We have great people, so we can always refer anyone out. But getting through that, and I like to say, banks are great for your accounts, checking account, saving account, things like that. But when you're in this process, and especially in the market that we're in, right? It's springtime here. Things are moving so fast. If you just go to the guy, the 1-800 number, or you click on a button on the portal for your bank, forget about it if you need an answer over the weekend. Or
that guy's doing it for a job. Like, there are guys that are doing it for a living.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
Yeah, it's really, really important. And also, I mean, just to dig a little deeper on the, after you establish a relationship, staying in communication as you're shopping around, because a lot of buyers will shop around. Some, it's like, hey, I just need to be in this school district or this town or this zip code. But we started with a lot of people where the search starts really wide, and having that relationship as the property taxes change, if there's a HOA fee or a condo fee or something like that comes up, it changes your mortgage profile a little bit. I think that's really, really important.
Right.
To go through. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. How about the flip side, man? How about when you're meeting with a new seller? I know you just had a listing this past weekend that we had 8 billion showings on, and a bunch of offers, and did all the things. Like, when you're walking through with them for the first time, you're sitting down with them for the first time, other than explaining the paperwork and what our relationship looks like, what are some of the things you're kind of telling them?
Yeah, so that's actually a good example, because with them, they reached out to me last year, and they gave me a heads up that they were going to be moving out of state. So I went out there probably 8 months ago, and I just walked through and I said, there's a few things that you can do here, and it's like typical, like, it's like deep clean stuff, right? And it's hard, like, they have 2 young kids, so, like, with them, it's like hard to keep a house clean. But, like, they're like baseboards and, like, chipped paint and, like, caulking in the bathroom around spots where it's got stained, it's become stained, or your grouts become stained. Like, that stuff is like things that most people can do, right? So, like, don't let that stuff get in the way of putting, the best product on the market, because it's small stuff. I mean, like, for a little bit of elbow grease in a weekend, and you can clean a place up really nice. But yeah, that's probably, like, what I'd say for that. As far as other tips for sellers, like, interview multiple agents, right? Like, find somebody that you want to work with. Find somebody that's not just going to tell you what you want to hear, right? I think that's like that's a big thing, especially when it comes to pricing a place. Because a lot of this stuff you see, like pricing, when you're selling your home and listing your home for sale, pricing is everything. What we see some places sitting around on the market for 20, 30 days, like, they're overpriced. Like, that's the reason they're still there. Unless there's something crazy going on behind the scenes, right? But, like, that's typically the case, is that they're overpriced. you see when it's priced right, like we had this weekend, it goes and you have multiple offers and you're able to control the terms and get exactly the offer that you want. It's not just about getting the highest number or testing the market out at a higher number, because you start doing that and then you're sitting around 2 weeks later and it's like, all right, well, the showing stopped and where's everybody at?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. And I think you hit on it. And also, like, each seller's different, right? So each house is different, but control the controllables. You can control the condition, you can control the price, can't control the interest rates, can't control other inventory that's out there. If you list your house and 5 people in your neighborhood list the same weekend, that's just kind of bad luck, right? Unless bad neighborhood. but if they knew that you were leaving, maybe they would stay. But I think if you control those things, it's good. And you touched on not just interviewing agents and not just going with somebody who's telling you what you want to hear, especially when it comes to price. How about like a little bit deeper on that? Like, not just the price, but the condition. About, for me, like, a thing I think that we rely on a lot, especially newer agents who join our team, is the experience. I mean, we're masters of this process. And whether you have a condo in Lansdale or, a $2 million house somewhere else, or a little something here, like, we've done all of those things, and they're all sort of different playbooks, but, and that matters. But what matters to the client is what we're doing for them in their particular house. Like, you dive a little bit deeper on, like, some of those questions, like when you're going through pricing and like kind of what you're telling sellers, especially if they want to push it too much, or if you've had the reverse where they're like, they're just off and they're a lot lower than the market.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants to price it higher, right? Like, that's a initial human greed aspect, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But like, what they don't realize is that, if you price it a little bit lower, you price it where it's supposed to be, the more important stuff throughout the transaction is the stuff that you can then control, right? So if we test the market, so to speak, right, and we price a house that's going to be sold at $350 either way, we price it at $375 or $400,000 to test the market. By the time 2 weeks rolls around and we're sitting there, like I said, there's no more showings coming in, and then we have to go back and have that conversation to lower the price, and then we lower the price. People start to assume, well, there's something wrong with this place.
Yeah.
And then you have a situation where, as if you would have priced it right originally, you could have had multiple offers or multiple people interested in it, and you can control this, inspections and appraisal stuff, settlement date. You're more in control, right? And when it starts to sit for a few weeks, we just talked about like this, like, control what you can control, right? One of the things that we can control is the price. So if somebody comes in and they're saying you're saying, I want to list it at 400, and I'm telling you it's not worth 400, and then somebody else comes in and they say, yeah, let's list it at 400. They're not doing you any favors, like, by lying to you, right? Essentially, what they're doing, they just want the business.
Buying the listing, the listing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just had a scenario with that where I went on a listing appointment. Great client. She interviewed a bunch of agents, so I was competing, and I don't know who the third agent was, but the second agent, I think, came down to between the two of us, and thank God she didn't hire based on looks. I would have had no shot. But the price I had was a little higher than her. It wasn't crazy higher. It was a little bit higher than our price. So she called to tell the agent. We signed with our team. Great. The agent calls her back. Knows she's under contract with somebody else. Calls her back 3 days later and says, I looked at the comps. I actually think I could sell your house for even more than what that guy said.
Yeah.
Then what the hell were you doing on the first appointment then? Right? Trying to find the thing, you should bring up an ethics charge. Anyway, but I do think, like, you brought up, like, testing the market, and there's a lot of, it's becoming in vogue to test the market, to hide the listing in secrecy and try to sell it to less people. And you're an agent, you're you're running around like an asshole, like it's 1988,
Yeah.
calling all your agent friends to say a house on the market. Just put the house on the fucking market. Anyway,
you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, you're most of the time you're doing yourself a disservice. So, but I think the thing that like sellers who are in that position, because sometimes you're in that position where like, hey, I would only sell at this number. All of us have an avenue for that, right? The make me move number. But for the other people where you want to test the market, you want to test the market or do you want to sell the house is really the question to have. Right. And then if you want to sell the house, let's figure out a way to price it as high as possible to get people through the door, but still make sure we get enough action to get multiple bidders. And that's when you get the best terms to come out of it. Right. Typically you get them bidding against themselves.
Which is equally important to the price, right?
Yeah.
If the price is within a few $1,000s, I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. If you have a buyer who's paying cash, sometimes you'll take a little bit less because you don't have to worry about the mortgage process. God forbid somebody loses their job or something during it.
Right.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good stuff. So as we go through this, we talked about buyers, we talked about sellers, we talked a little bit about your transition from, kind of start off more part-time than the full-time. You're in over a decade and you've seen agents, join our team over the years. You were first or 1A, 1B, you and Anthony Phillips, you're both there. You can take ownership. I would say you're first. When you see those agents, like, and we've all had ups and downs in our career, like any advice for like brand new agents and then maybe agents that are just like struggling a little bit?
Yeah, I think from my experience was I had one foot in the door for 5 years. Yeah. And it was, like I said, I went from 4 nights a week to 3 nights a week and then down to 2 nights a week. And even when I was doing 2 nights a week, I was successful with real estate. I had like moments where I would do great, make a living, but there was stuff that I missed out on because I didn't jump, 10 toes in and I wasn't fully invested in it because I had something else going on. I'm working Monday night and Saturday night. So Tuesday morning's gone and then Sunday morning's gone. And then you're not losing 2 days, you're losing 4 days. So for me, like the biggest difference and the biggest jump for me was just stopping that, cutting it off completely. And I know that's it's tough, right? You can go months without getting paid doing real estate.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't keep happening.
Right. You don't want that.
But like it can happen. It's part of, especially when you're starting out. Yeah. So it's good to have that safety net and to fall back on it, but you can't be a full-time agent without being a full-time agent. Is the way I would say it. And you pushed me for years to get out.
Not hard enough,
right? not hard enough. Not hard enough. But you were constantly in my ear, and it's tough to give up, right? Because like it's a lot of it's cash and it's money and it's there. But eventually, I got to a point where I had a few deals stacked up, real estate wise, and I was able to walk away from that and fully invest myself. And I think that's the biggest thing for anybody. Like I had a couple people reach out to me recently, both who I've worked with in restaurants, asked me, "Hey, do you think I'd be a good agent?" And first question I asked was, "You doing it part time, or are you going to do it?" And they're like, "Well, I have a full-time job, but I would want to do it on the side." It's like, well, could you do it? Yeah. Are you going to be super successful? Probably not. You're in an office for 8 hours a day, and then are you going to want to come home and work? Like that. Like that's what it is. So for me, I would say if you want to be full time and do it as a career, that's the only way to do it. Yeah.
And I started part-time as well when I first started. I worked for the Inquirer and Daily News, and I started part-time, and right after I bought my first house, and the market was scorching hot. It was 2004. So if you could fog a mirror and you weren't super offensive, you'd make a living. And I meet those metrics. Can't stop me. So I was doing pretty well out of the chute, but just kind of more lucky than good early on.
Right.
And, and going through that and then realizing hey man, at some point too, you have to take ownership of the experience for the client. Like, are you able to give this client a good experience in what is for most people stressful? They're moving their family, they're spending a lot of money.
Right.
Hey, we got to get the kids into school. Oh my God, our relationships falling apart. Are these life events that impact
And then they can't
transactions?
get a hold of you because you're trying to get the perfect pour on a Guinness.
Right. You split the G. Yeah. So it's that's part of it. So you have to care. And it is far, we talk about this all the time on our team. It's far too easy for people to get the real estate license. And it's a huge disservice to the public because they kind of view us all as a commodity, which is fine because we
Right.
kind of let those people easily get their license. But I do think you make good points. Like, you do have to, at some point be committed, and watching that transition for you where you were like committed to both. And it was like, I'm dying because I'm doing both. That's like, you can only hold on to that part for so long, and then making the switch. And like you said, like, that's the nature of the business, right? We're gonna have ups and downs, but like, our job is to maintain the relationship with clients, and then the transactions happen when they happen. Like, it's the most important thing, but it's almost secondary to the relationship. So
Right.
not almost, it is secondary. Yeah. I think that's good. And those agents, those former bartenders, look, man, we got the blueprint here. So call Tony, and then he'll give you my.
We got it all figured out.
Yeah. We got it all figured out. All right, talk a little bit. Why don't you give? I think you and Anthony have the. I mean, everyone on the team's been this for a while, but you and Anthony Phillips for sure have the best perspective. Like, talk a little bit about sort of the evolution of our team, kind of what it's like to be on a team. I know you haven't been anywhere else, but can you just talk a little bit about that, like what you've seen over the past decade plus?
Yeah, I mean, real estate as a whole the whole world's changed since then. But I mean, when we started, we were in like some bullshit office in Lansdale in the basement. No offense, but like playing backgammon and cards, hoping the phone rings. And then we, not to tell the whole Bob Kelley team story, but
tell it.
We bounced around a little bit.
Yeah.
We've found success no matter where we went, but we went from 3 agents to 5 agents, up to 18 agents or 17.
Yeah, we were 18 at one point. Yeah, I think we're 14 now. Yeah,
15 now. Yeah. So, but so much has changed in real estate over those years too, and that's like the one thing that says a lot about us and you is you go through all of that stuff, and the weaker agents don't make it through that, right? The market changes. You have people, getting 30 offers on a house in the middle of COVID, and then before that, people seem to forget that people houses would be listed for months sometimes before they sell. That was like normal. So like, there's different evolving and to what's around you, being a chameleon and being able to fit into all these different, markets and different, the technology is getting crazy, but being able to fit into that stuff and make the changes and adapt. It's important. It says a lot about our team that, we're still here.
Yeah. We're still here. We're not going anywhere. Yeah. Have you found it helpful? Because you've played both roles, right? Like, you were on the team, you were part-time, then we had some other agents come in. Like, when Iris joined the team, for example, she had already been an agent elsewhere and been pretty successful in her own right. Like for me, like, a fun thing to watch from a team leader perspective is when an agent goes from, and I need some help with that, and like being confident enough to ask for help. Like, on our team, you can always ask for help. Like, the joke I have is there's no stupid questions, just stupid people. I don't really mean that though. But like, hey, I need some help, to like, then you are like the resource. Like, somebody else asks for help, like, well, wait a minute, I got you, dog. I can
exactly. And like, that's the biggest benefit of what we have, like what we've built is, people have families, people have lives outside of work. So like, if I can't be somewhere, I can count on somebody else from the team almost every single time to show up and help. There's been very few instances where somebody's reached out in our group chat and said, hey, I need help showing a place, even on short notice in a couple hours, there's been very few instances that they don't find coverage one
Yeah.
way or another. You know, that's the biggest benefit of being on such a large team. But it's the people that matter, right?
Yeah.
Like if they weren't willing to do that stuff and willing to help out, we wouldn't be the same.
Yeah. And it goes up and down the board, whether, we have Hims, who's newer to the team, a few months ago, and he stepped in right away. Like he'll show anything anywhere. Abiat, same way. She's a newer agent, still out showing people houses here and there when she fits it into her schedule. So, and it doesn't matter for me. Production, we do a lot of business. Like I say all the time, like our team gets recognized, and it's our team. It's my team name, so I get the recognition. But it's because of all the people on the team, right? It's like I'm not doing all the deals. We kind of manage it and we have processes to save some time and make a little bit more money. But it's a collective. It's all of us. And to me, seeing all those people help each other out, and we have a long enough relationship with everyone where whether they are having an up year or a down year for their own personal business, they're still there for each other. Like that shit means the world to me.
Yeah. I think another thing that I don't know if we even really talk about it enough is this kind of just happened by accident, I would think, right? We're all spread out. Like the Philadelphia suburbs are massive, right? I mean, John lives in Langhorne.
Yep.
And I'm in Collegeville. We're like an hour apart.
Yeah.
So if I have somebody, or he has somebody that's looking in Collegeville, or I have somebody that's looking in Langhorne, like, do I really? I mean, I'll do it, but like, do you really want to drive, out an hour to show somebody 30, 40 places over months? Like, when we can just do it together,
refer it or handle it,
or figure another thing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, not just us. Like, we're really we're pretty spread out.
Yeah. But listen, I will share that was by design. Like that was by design. When I started, I'll never forget this. I've told this story a million times. So as soon as I start telling it, I know you've heard it before, but when we were at our first company, and it was, I think, like my first full year in real estate, so I think it was 2005. I had a client that I got through friends of mine. Like when you first start, right? Like without your friends and family, you kind of are like fighting uphill whenever you have any kind of small business. And certainly I would be nowhere without all those guys that helped me out, earlier in my career. And I had someone who was a connection through one of my best friends growing up. We're at like a work happy hour hanging out, and they're looking for a house. And, the process is the same. There's some nuances between the towns. And when we need someone, like we're the first one to say, hey, we will represent you. We're great at getting through the transaction and all the steps, but we're going to also tie in someone local to make sure we're just not missing anything. We're always going to look out for the client first.
Right.
But I'm so old that the first office that you mentioned earlier, they had a map above the resource computers. And when you would sell a house, you'd put a pin in a map. Yeah. And I sold a place, and it was down in Delaware County. And an older guy in the office said, "Who the hell drove down here?" And I'm like, it's a guy I see all the time. I hang out with. Him and his wife are looking to buy a house. Like, what are you talking about? Why wouldn't I do it?
Right.
And he's like, you don't do that. Now, look, he's also right. You can make a living and just be like a neighborhood expert or a city expert.
Of course.
It's a great thing about our business. It's like the cereal aisle. There's whatever kind you want. You want Lucky Charms or you want the healthy stuff, right? I like Lucky Charms. So anyway, I told him, dude, what are you talking about? This is my contact. I'm just going to like refer them out and leave them high and dry. Right. Like they trust me. And we did the deal. And I thought I discovered fire. I was like a caveman. I'm like, holy shit. You're not going to drive 30 minutes to go make money? If you work in any other industry, I mean, my neighborhood, there's probably 30 people here driving to Center City every day for work. Right. That's their job. So what? That's your job. So like that whole notion to me was like
willing to do that.
Wild. Like, God, go be a service to your people, represent them in the transaction. And, at that point, I mean, I didn't have kids yet, but I remember a couple years later, like, my son was, 2 years old. I'm like, he had an iPod touch. Like he could look it up on his iPod where the freaking grocery store is. So yeah. It's a wild business. Lots of ways to earn a living and build your business.
Definitely.
But for us, I mean, we are spread out by design, Philly, the burbs, and down to the Jersey Shore. So we're We're good. We're good. All right, that's good. That's good. Good stuff about the team and some highlights there. Share a little bit about yourself. I mean, obviously, I know you and I love you, but for the people, like, what are some things that you're into outside of real estate?
Yeah. So golfing, fishing, hunting, all that outdoor stuff. So the stuff that I enjoy outside of work.
Yeah. Where are some of your favorite places to do that? Like locally, where do you go fishing and
So
hunting? I know you drive.
Locally, there's like I can't really tell you where I go.
You got your spot. You can't share your spots.
Yeah, locally, like I'll go out and I'll fish in Evansburg at State Park, and I live in Collegeville, but I'm 5-10 minutes from the Perkiomen Creek or the Skipback Creek, so there's plenty of places to do it.
Not a lot of fish left, but there's plenty of places.
Yeah, not right. Exactly. Don't catch anything, but get out there. And then golf wise, I mean, like we have some of the best golf courses in the country that are really close.
Yeah.
I haven't played a lot the last couple of years, but I'm looking to get out there this year and play a lot more.
Yeah. And hunting, you go far, right? You're off the grid.
Yeah, so do some stuff locally, but mostly like further north. Like north central PA.
Yeah, cool. And then what about, so like you live in Collegeville, you grew up in Lansdale, in the city and in Lansdale, right? You moved around a little bit. Like, how about a couple of your favorite local places to Collegeville, and then maybe more regionally, whether it's somewhere to grab a bite to eat, a bar, place to hang out?
You already know what I'm going to say about Collegeville. The Collegeville Italian Bakery is like
number one.
It's the best around. I look like this for a reason.
The team calendar won't be coming out anytime soon.
Yeah. Collegeville Italian Bakery is seriously like that's my favorite restaurant. Yeah. They're the best. People are the best there. Steve, I know, great guy. So that's like super local to me. As far as like spreading out, getting down to some other places like in the city, like Saloon is awesome. I know we went there with and a couple of our guys. It's a great spot. There's a bunch, man. Angelo's is awesome in the city.
Angelo's awesome, yeah.
There's a bunch, but I always come back to the bakery being my 1A.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, man, it's right there. How about breweries? You've known so many people from your time. You worked at Iron Hill for years, so from your time there and your other connections along the way, is like everyone's spread out. Like, do you have any good spots?
Yeah. So Von C is awesome. They're like right in Norristown.
Yeah.
I go there often. I have a buddy who plays live music, and he plays there pretty frequently. I was actually just there this past weekend. Von C's great beer, great atmosphere. They don't have their own food, but they usually have like a food truck there, or you can order a pizza or order from anywhere, bring your own stuff, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But that's a great spot. I worked in a brewery, obviously, for years. I worked at Iron Hill Brewery forever. They're actually getting ready to make a comeback too. So
yeah.
Excited to see what they do.
Yeah. Tony's busy, guys. He's not available. he's not available. All right, well, we'll button it up in a minute, but anything else that you would want to share? Anyone who's like looking to maybe get to know an agent about you and sort of your style. And then lastly, any agents who are interested in like switching teams, brokerages, joining a team, anything that you would share with them as well.
Yeah. I mean,
start with
if you have my number and you know me and you have that situation and it can be between us. You can give me a call and I won't, secret's safe here. But if you have questions or anything like that, you can text or call me whenever you want. And that goes for really any agents.
Yeah. And then how about for clients? Anything to know just about your style, like how you like to deal with people? Going up if they're out there looking for an agent.
Right. So with me, I try to like be really laid back and not pushy about things, which sometimes is a fault for me, right? But I'm not going to be super like in your face and salesy and pushy and stuff like that. And even if you just have questions or you see a place that you're curious about in your neighborhood that you want to go check out, like give me a call. Let's go check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Tony's good to use as a resource. Doesn't have commission breath. Not going to jump down your throat. Yeah. He's good. Awesome, man. Well, listen, you know I love you. You're a great part of the team. Everybody on the team loves you, and I know all the clients love you too. So thanks for taking time to do this. And hey, just thanks for being you, dude.
Cool. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for checking out Know Your People. If you enjoyed this episode, do us a favor. Follow or subscribe on your favorite platform. Leave a quick rating and tell a friend to check us out. You can find us on social media at Bob Kelley Team across all platforms. And if you want to connect with our team or today's guest, the info is in the description below. Go show some love.